Hey folks, Chris Holman here, Nine Line Ministries. Still moving. Last week to move. I tend to move, pretty much do it all by myself. Last time I tried to elicit help from people I thought were friends to help me move, they waited till the day of to tell me they couldn't, right? So I'm a pretty independent person and I can do almost all of it. So here I am. Daggone tyranny strap bell. All right, so here I go. Stop driving and steaming. I think you mean driving and streaming live. Geez. It's okay. I'm good. I got it. That was a curb. So anyway, as the title says, when communication breaks down, right? So I really hate having serious conversations via text message. And I really do. And the reason is because only 5% of communication is verbal. The rest is body language and inflection in your voice, things like that. I mean, there's so many phrases in the English language based on the inflection in your voice, they can mean different things, and that can lead to miscommunications, things like that. So I really hate doing serious conversations via text message, even email sometimes. Though email, you've got a lot more space to really kind of get your point across, but still, even then. So then, what happens when it is an in-person communication, and you misread those cues, right? We misread the cues for tone, inflection, all of those types of things. How do you handle that when it leads to conflict? Well, I think a biblical approach is the best way to go. Now, I'm going to tell you that I had a pretty rough day yesterday because of this very thing. I misread someone, and it led to some conflict. And it wasn't so much what was said, but was my interpretation of the tone and inflection in this person's voice that led to an argument. It led to an argument. It's not like that anything bad was said. Like nobody said anything that was hurtful or anything like that. But I didn't handle it right. Instead of becoming defensive, I should have stopped like I normally would, right? Just stop and let everything just kind of cool down and then have a cool discussion, right? Now, the Bible tells us all that what love is, and that love is kind, love is patient, love is long suffering. Paul tells us that love bears all, believes all, hopes all. So it is imperative, particularly with people that we love, to believe the best, not to jump to the worst case, um, the worst possible motivation that person may have, or, just to immediately think the worst of that person. I said this in my last live stream. I'm not perfect, right? I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. But I learn from those mistakes. And if I learn from them, then, they weren't in vain. Sometimes we get frustrated with what's going on in life. There could be a complex of stressors. I've talked about this many times before. When it comes to anger, when it comes to depression, when it comes to severe reactions to situations, there's typically not just one situation that leads someone to rage or severe depression, maybe attempted suicide. It's a complexity of stressors, right? Complexity of stressors. So, in those times, I found my best coping mechanism, just to make sure that I don't do something, say something that's mean or hurtful, is to just remove myself, let myself calm down, let others calm down. But I don't always do that. Sometimes, situation gets ahead of me. So when communication breaks down and you realize it has broken down, I think then the best course of action is to just stop. Just stop. And take a break. Go home or go in the other room, let cooler heads prevail, come back when everyone's calm, and talk it out calmly. It's impossible when everyone, especially particularly when it's a problem of miscommunication, it's impossible to come to any kind of resolution when everyone's angry, when everyone's frustrated and at the end of the rope with this. And so then that would be my advice. When communication breaks down, take a pause, take a breather, breathe in, go back at it. Sometimes what you think may be something said in malice may not have been said in malice. Maybe something that you thought was sarcastic may not have been sarcastic. Maybe something that you thought was, hurtful was not meant to be hurtful. Maybe something that you thought was criticism, harsh criticism, was just teasing. And in those situations, the best source of what was really truly meant was the person who said it. But again, you got to be calm. Both parties have to have cool heads to talk about it. Cool heads. So, with communication, with any relationship, communication is key. You got to be able to communicate. Whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a relationship with a parent or a sibling or a child, with a boss or subordinate at work, or a peer at work, whoever it may be, any type of relationship, communication is key. As a leader, communication is key. You've got to be able to properly articulate to your subordinates. Likewise, they need to properly articulate to their leader that they understand. Some people are better communicators than others. I think I'm a pretty good communicator. However, I'm not going to sit here and say that I never fail in properly communicating what I'm thinking. That happens probably more often than I realize. In fact, this year I've had issues of communication failures multiple times. Not always on my part. But I would say has equally been so. Stop and take a breather. Be slow to anger. Think the always act in love. Always. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and go. Everybody have a great day. And always remember, our God